This is Infection, the survival podcast recorded live on Tuesday, December 8th, 2020, episode 308. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig, also known as Mr. Big Time, as some people like to call me. You can check me out on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. If you want to check out my political rantings, you can do so at atnshow.com. Joining me, as he does each and every week, from the great state of Boise, the great state of Idaho, in the city of Boise, Brian with an I, Aldridge. Hello, Mr. Brian.
Hello. Hopefully everything. I hear it's cold over there.
It's actually a little chilly.
It was sunny here. Walk around in not quite t-shirt weather, but sounds like it's a lot colder there. If you want to find me, you can find me at Brian Aldridge on Parler, or if you want to go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Also, you can go to check out our website. Go to infectionpodcast.com. You can check out on the right-hand side. It says join our server on Discord. If you do that, we've got a news channel. Maybe there's a topic that you think you should be submitting to us that we're not discussing, maybe a game that we're not discussing. If so, put that in the channel, and we always review that before we make the show notes for each episode. We also have on there a politics channel, a workout health channel. And then I'm sure a lot of people will be playing some of these, for instance, a game that's coming out, I think tomorrow, that we'll be playing a whole bunch. And so if you're interested in that, jump into our Discord. Also, if you want to get a notification for a live show, just join our Steam group 5-10 minutes before the show starts. We'll get a little pop-up, and that will remind you that we are doing our live show. And if we happen to be doing it maybe with holidays or with hurricanes, all kinds of things that have happened in the past, if you happen to be at your computer, you remember that group, we do a notification before our show. If you're interested in the pre and post show that we do, Judd was nice enough to put together our podcast extras channel. But for the live show, you can watch on video through Twitch, through BitChute, through DLive, and through, of course, Twitch here. And on those are all either during the live show, or you can watch those after the fact. But if you're willing to listen, we do have our podcast form that we upload after we finish the show. That's at the very lower right-hand side. And if you do that, I encourage you to follow along with the show notes. And this will be episode 307, where you can go through and as we touch each topic, maybe you are listening and you want to be able to watch the videos too. You can pull up the show notes, pull up the videos as we start playing them, and that's really helpful. If you want to support us, maybe you're going to be purchasing some things last minute for Christmas. You can first of all, you can go either to the support tab at the top. You can go to infectionpodcast.com/support, or you can go to amazon.infectionpodcast.com, humble.infectionpodcast.com, or we've got a number that we're going to be listing off here of Prime Gaming subs that people have given us, and that's very helpful.
Yes, speaking of that, we do have a whole bunch of them after our little Streamlabs snafu last week. I want to thank our friend Saul Greatman for hitting us up with the 33-month resubscription, saying this stream was brought to you by some sort of decaf tea that Green Man drinks. So we thank you for that. UGX Vibe hitting us up with the 34-month resubscribe, saying God bless Texas. Donnie hitting us up with the resubscription, saying using the infecting chilling, and also telling me that the names were wrong on our graphics before the show started. Thank you very much for that, Donnie. And as well as our friend It's Judd for hitting us up with the 24-month resubscribe as well. So
I do want to make a correction. Episode 308. I think I said, did I say 307? I think I said like 307. That. But it's episode 308.
308 of the show.
The graphic you put last week says 306. That's what threw me off.
What graph? Where?
The graphic on our website. You can pull up the website and look. They both say episode 306 for the last two episodes. The text
I see that.
is correct.
Okay.
But that I glanced at that as I was doing the reading, and I said episode 306, or that this will be 307, but we are one up from that. Not that I want to pass blame.
Well, I mean, I'll update it before the show's over because that's how good I am.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. Hopefully my computer crashed just to spite you and everybody else. Hopefully the show crashes and we lose the whole show. Hopefully that make everybody happy. So we're here. We are 17 days in front of Christmas or something like that. Some crazy number. Lots going on. Now,
I got a
Brian,
wedding here in less than 2 weeks.
I mean, that's marginally important. I'll give you that. You've got that going on. The most anticipated video game of 2020 is not out yet, but will be out momentarily. Literally within the next day, that will be out. We've got 2 new consoles. We've got a surge of a virus in the US. There's a whole lot going on, and it's going to be a very interesting next 20-something days till the end of the year. So, Ryan, let's start it off with Cyberpunk. Lots of news on the front of Cyberpunk. It does appear, unless maybe an asteroid or something like that hits the planet tonight and blows everything up and we all perish, it does appear that Cyberpunk is actually going to come out tomorrow.
One of our viewers who received the special edition in the mail, because remember they shipped it out early. One of the groups shipped it. I think he's been playing it already. Is what according to Facebook. I follow him on Facebook, and supposedly he's been playing it.
Yes, for physical copies. Now, they started allowing preloads for both Steam, Epic Game Store, GOG, and everything else yesterday. So I purchased it and preloaded it yesterday. But if you try to open it, it does something where it's like Keanu Reeves' character says like, "Hey, it's not, go back to bed" or something like that. They've got a little whatever, Easter egg thing in there, so you can see that in there. But the game is coming out, and yes, we will correct the record. So there was lots of confusion last week about the release time of the game. And by the way, I don't know what you're talking about that saying 306 on the website. I mean, that's just blasphemy. I can't prove
fake news.
I can't prove that one way or the other. There was lots of conflicting information, and even today there is still a trailer, which we're going to play here in a couple minutes, of Cyberpunk 2077, and it says December 10th on the trailer. So to me, and again, I understand the whole world doesn't revolve around the United States, but I can.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
But I can
That's how we feel.
But I don't think it's how I feel. I think you can honestly say that the game has been marketed and sold. First of all, it's been sold and marketed towards North America. Would that be an accurate statement?
Primarily in English, right?
Yeah.
And it's primarily in English, and it's not in UK English. They're not talking with accents from the UK. And so that's something that I was surprised about, because usually these groups will market a little more locally. I mean, if you're going to be doing things like this and you're going to be putting out an ad or a commercial in English that's targeting the United States, usually we'll put the United States times. If you're putting out an ad that's in Chinese or Japanese, you'll target their times. I would assume if they're targeting Poland and it's in Polish, they would put Poland's times.
Because the odd thing about it, and I'll pull up the release map right here. If you're watching this in full screen in the dark, watch your eyes, because this is a very bright graphic. Everywhere across North America, the game is releasing on the 9th. So at no place in North America does the game release on December 10th. Now it does in almost the rest of the world, and again, that's why I understand that the whole world doesn't revolve around me and Brian in the East and West Coast, but traditionally the way that this works is your release date is somewhat localized, especially when they released, if you go to their YouTube channel, they've got trailers in like 70 different languages with all this different stuff in it, but they all say the same thing on December 10th. So we now do have the confirmed global release timings for this game, and I'm just gonna not to shaft anybody, but I'm just gonna zoom in here on the the important part of the the world, and we'll take a look at the East Coast, the North America here. New York, it is releasing tomorrow at 7 p.m. That is just less than 24 hours from now. I've got a nice little snazzy countdown that we'll keep tabs on here during the show. Looking at that, 23 hours and 41 minutes till that game is available on the East Coast of the United States. So very much looking forward to that. It will be available 4 o'clock Pacific in Los Angeles, 6 p.m. In Mexico City, which is Central Time. Brian will get it at 5 p.m. his time, and that's how the breakdown's going to go. Now, the game does come out at 12 o'clock local time in where's the studio located? Are they located in Poland? They're in Poland. So that's when the game does come out. It does come out at, actually, it's not even that. It's 1 a.m. local time. So it's
I think it was like 1 a.m. their time is what it ended up being.
So it's 1 a.m. local time for that. So we are 23 hours or so away from that. So we've got that. All that information, because we were Googling last week on the show. We had Jonesy in the chat saying you guys are wrong about the times, and there was no confirmation. There was one Reddit post.
Steam had one time. Yeah, all the other places had another time. I mean, all these other places were saying December 10th, and not even clarifying what time.
It was very weird that it wasn't until this past week that all that coming out. Now this picture, of course, was from the official Cyberpunk Twitter, so they verified it. Preloading began yesterday. It actually says in the bottom of this graphic. I have to zoom in because I can't read it. Preloading began at noon on December 7th and 5 p.m. on Steam and the Epic Game Store yesterday. So that's when the preloading starts. That's when I loaded it on there. It wasn't that big. Now there will presumably be a large day one patch, but the game itself was only 60 gigabytes, which you say only 60. Call of Duty was like 140. Now, to be fair,
the day one patch is supposed to be as big as most games, is what they're claiming.
True, and to be fair, there is no multiplayer. As of
Not
now,
yet.
there will be a large multiplayer patch. So take that for what it's worth. But I can't imagine. I don't know. So the way that the day one patch thing, though, Brian, is more of an Xbox, or excuse me, the day one patch thing is more of a physical media thing than it is anything else. I
would assume that they're downloading the most recent one and not making you re-download. They're probably going to make you download the patch version if you're loading and they have it available.
Because
if there's a new patch that they release tomorrow, if there's a whole new content, then they'll make you download it again.
There will be, but traditionally downloading day one patches is when you get a physical copy of a game, and the physical copy that you're getting is a version that is weeks old because they had to ship it to a disc manufacturing plant and get it put on discs, into sleeves, onto your store shelves, and then into your house. That's always been the traditional day one patch. I can't believe that me preloading the game yesterday got that same version, and I hope what doesn't happen is at 7 p.m. tomorrow night, I go to open it up and Steam goes, oh, here's an 85 gigabyte download for the game. That would be retarded. That would make no sense. It would make the preload useless. So I hope if there is a significant day one patch, which to me would be 30 plus gigabytes, that is available tonight, or at least earlier than the release time tomorrow, because you know exactly what will happen when that comes out is at release time, because it's releasing at the same time everywhere. Steam's and Epic servers are going to be hammered, and then and that's going to be a whole thing. So hopefully there is not a 60 or 80 or 100 gigabyte patch for this game tomorrow for people that have already preloaded it, because it would defeat the entire purpose.
And I did purchase it. So I have it on PC. And then last night I did purchase a copy on Xbox, because there's things that I will want to do later, especially multiplayer and things like that I'll want it on PC for. But I downloaded it, and the download size was actually very small for Xbox. And I just feel like they're only having you download part of it. And I don't know if today, maybe I'll go in there and there'll be more to download, but it seemed like it was really small, like a 15 gigabyte download or something like that. So we'll see what I end up having to download tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, so that's a little kind of under the, we don't really know what's going to happen now, but at this point, it's not going to matter. The game's out in literally 24 hours. So that's what we've got on Cyberpunk. Now, they did release a new trailer today, Brian.
Yes.
And do you want to roll into that and then?
Yeah, let's go ahead and play that first. And it's not a gameplay trailer, so it's not going to have a ton of gameplay. But this is their launch trailer, which will show some gameplay, but it's not focusing on here's a quest, follow this quest like some of the previous ones did.
I'll say this before we play it. This shows, I think, some of the most realistic things you will be doing in the game once it comes out in comparison to other trailers. So we'll discuss right after this.
Of a person's true value. Death. Facing it. Staring it down.
Johnny.
I got you.
Pressure's tanky.
It's neurogenic shock. He's dying.
V, you in there?
My head. So what now?
Now, you find out what it is you need to do.
A thing of beauty, I know.
You've never backed down from anything in your life, even when you maybe should have. You go through Night City knowing a stray bullet could end you while hailing a cab. But that's never stopped you from taking action. You believe you cheated death. It is death that has cheated you. If you gotta kill, kill. If you gotta burn it all to the ground, then let it burn.
Elevate! On the ground, asshole! Don't move!
Out of my house, no! Will never fade away. What you did to me, I know. So how I find a way, but I think of beauty.
Would you rather live in peace as Mr. Nobody, or go down for all times in a blaze of glory?
Will never fade away.
December 10, not gonna.
Never fade away.
No comment about that.
Yeah, ignore those details.
Yeah, ignore those details. So as we are about 23 and a half hours away from the release of Cyberpunk 2077, Brian, I'd say probably the most anticipated game. Well, it's December 9th for all the people that matter, Judd. The most anticipated game of. Would it be accurate to say that this is the largest game that's launched since Red Dead Redemption in terms of what it is? Because if that's the case, that's 2 years.
The only
since we've had a game.
competition would be The Last of Us 2. As far as anticipation and number of sales and all that. Now we'll be talking about sales. That's a little bit different story, but I'm talking about sales of a new title or a new game coming out that's not an update or an add-on to an existing game.
Yeah.
So I did look through some of the reviews. They're kind of all over the board. You have mostly 8s out of 10. There's some that gave it 10 out of 10s.
IGN
some gave them
not.
7s. No, didn't they give him like a 73 or something like that?
I thought IGN gave him a 9.
Or was it a 9? Okay, yeah. There's one of them, PC Gamer, I think gave them a 73 score, which is kind of surprising. That's
Here's
not
the
great.
Thing. Well, so I find this so interesting. A 73. Okay, so a 73 is probably actually accurate, though, Brian. When you give every game a 10 out of 10, the review system is useless. And that's the problem with, Firebomb in our Discord was saying earlier about, reviews. Reviews right now, reviews in video games, in my opinion, have been useless for 20 years because there's no such thing as reviews. Every review is an 8 or a 9. So maybe
how much
Cyberpunk
of it do you think is
actually a 75, which would still be an incredible game.
Good game, yeah.
Yes.
How much do you think it is political, though? Because do you think some of these are marking them down? Because remember, they said we're not going to do all this political BS. We're not going to cater all these things, and they weren't going to change You remember when people were demanding
yeah.
they made changes? I'm wondering how many of them are going to score them lower because they didn't bend over for them.
I don't know. I haven't read any of the reviews. I'm not going to read any
The Last
of the reviews.
of Us 2, I mean, that was ridiculous, and it was purely political.
Yeah.
The reason that there were so many 10 out of 10s.
So, I mean, we don't do reviews on this show, even though it's part of our intro news reviews. We don't do reviews in that scale, right? We don't do a scaled review. I don't read game reviews. I haven't read a game reviews, and I don't anticipate on reading the reviews for this game. Because frankly, I already bought it. I already gave him $64.50 or whatever it was with tax. I already own it, so I don't really care. But I and maybe it's going to take Cyberpunk to do it, Brian. Maybe this is when we actually get back to real objective, I'm going to say video game journalism, but I'll say this, a 75 in a video game out of an accurate scale of 0 to 100 is very good because guess where most games probably fall? In the 50. Upper 50s to lower 60s. Yeah. That's where most games probably are. And a 75 on a day one launch, which know will have issues, it will have bugs, those things will be patched and fixed over time. That 75 easily, as this game gets into its lifespan, could be an 80, 82, 85. 85 is it's not an A in terms of a school grade, but that's an A. Most games should never get really 90s, realistically. Yeah. Right. The most perfect game ever gets 100 or 95. Not every single game.
And what I listen to is, for instance, Tay, one of our listeners, the one who I was speaking about, who got it, who was able to play it early. He made comments saying, "Hey, the story has pulled me in." Like that's the kind of thing that I want to hear. The first thing he didn't say was, "Oh, the graphics are amazing." He said, I've had a hard time pulling myself away from it because the story is just holding me." That's what I want to hear. That's what I loved about Red Dead. Now, the graphics were great. I enjoyed being able to wander and look at some of the scenery in Red Dead Redemption 2, but the story pulled me in. And that's where, for instance, The Last of Us 2, we mentioned that earlier. That's where they lost me. I didn't care. The story did not pull me in. The story was a flop. You could make it look as pretty as you want, and it's still, I didn't think it was that great graphics wise. I mean, for a AAA studio that has put as much money and time as they did, I didn't think it was that impressive how they did the level design, everything. But with this, I hope that the graphics hold up. I hope that it's on par with GTA 5. If it's on par with GTA 5 and better, because GTA 5 is a fairly old game now. If it's on par with that, I'm going to be happy because there's all that detail. It's the graphics don't pull you away from the story. They're not distracting. If anything, they add to it, and that's what I'm hoping that they do with this one.
I would agree. And with that being said, Brian, let's go ahead and start up our game giveaway here, courtesy of our friend Unicorn Joe, who has been with us as far as I can remember. He's provided us with a whole bunch of games in the past. Not us. I don't want to take any credit for this. He has provided us with a key of a full digital key for, I assume it's a Steam key of
no, well, it's under Humble, but it should redeem to
Steam key. So it'll be a PC version of Cyberpunk 2077, free of charge, no strings attached. Well, there are some strings. The string is you need to be here in our chat. You need to be following, and you need to have 100 cans. Which, if you'll watch us over the next hour and a half or so, you will have enough, and you will have enough to enter that. You follow, you get 10 for that. So stay tuned here over the next hour and a half. We'll draw this right towards the end of our program, like we always do, and we will be available for that. So this will be a full PC copy of Cyberpunk 2077, courtesy of our friend Unicorn Joe. So Joe, thank you very much. It is greatly appreciated, and everybody trying to enter, you go ahead and do so. If not, you don't have enough cans right away, just hang out. You'll be here, if you're here for at least 100 minutes or 90 minutes. If you follow, you'll be good to go. So, with that being said, we showed you the trailer. We looked at the release schedule. Lots of stuff coming out today. Nothing really on the spoiler side. CD Projekt Red made it very clear that they did not want stuff being leaked on this. I do believe that the some of those restrictions were just lifted earlier today. So now you'll start to see some written things. Now, some of the reviews had that, but you'll see some more leaks and things like that coming out now that some of those, I don't know if they're considered NDAs, whatnot. There are some random streams on some less than traditional or standard streaming websites. I saw one yesterday on, I don't remember the name of it. It was in our Discord. It was a very interesting stream site. Some guy was streaming Cyberpunk on there. Judd says he saw some Russians leak streams. So those exist. Those always have existed. But for the most part, I think similar to what we've seen with Red Dead Redemption and Grand Theft Auto, some of these, hot AAA titles like this, they've released enough information about the game. They've released plenty of trailers, plenty of videos over the past, would you say month, maybe month and a half. They've been consistently releasing things that there really hasn't been a need for people to be scavenging the internet and posting weird little gameplay things, because, and now again, I'm not saying the trailers are accurate representations of the whole game, but they've been releasing these 2 or so minute trailers. We've had one every week for the last 3 weeks. So they've done a pretty good job.
Yeah. And I also think because there's not a previous Cyberpunk there, if you look at The Last of Us 2, everybody was so invested in the story and they felt like they were going to ruin the story. And so everybody was trying to figure out what was going to happen. This is a fresh new story. Whatever they do, does it really matter? I mean, you're not going to, unless they've already made the statement, we're not being political with this, I think that people weren't really concerned that there was going to be something that was just going to totally ruin it for them. And plus, they've done such a good job with the Witcher series. So they have a track record of not ruining things. So I think with this, people weren't as concerned. Plus, they've showed a number of quests. They had some gameplay where they showed, extended gameplay of things happening in the game. I think people have a fairly good idea of what to expect. I mean, they don't know what the story's going to throw at them, but I think they have a fairly good idea of what to expect gameplay wise. As far as how the weapons will work, how the quests will work, kind of what the city will be like. And for me, I've tried not to ruin it for me because I want it to be fresh. And I think a lot of other people probably do too. They want it to be a fresh experience. I want to walk in there and be amazed by some things. I want to be able to go and kind of just see some of the little Easter eggs maybe that they've thrown in there and have it be a good experience. And that's the same thing with The Last of Us 2. I didn't watch all those pre-trailers and the videos and the leaked things on that because I didn't want to see all that first. I wanted to see it from scratch.
Firebomb makes a good point in chat. Says this would be the first game in forever to get massive sales that wasn't a sequel to an already known franchise. And yeah, you do think about that. I guess the last really big franchise probably would have been The Last of Us, but that's been how long since the first one of those came out? Early in the PS4? So you're talking about 7+ maybe 8 years ago. I don't believe there's been another blockbuster
fresh
IP.
title, yeah.
Green Man says Fortnite. There's been big games, but in terms of a story-driven campaign game, I think he's right on that.
And I think there's not a lot of people who know about the Cyberpunk.
There's been two of these games since GTA 5 came out. There's been 2 of these games, including GTA 5. And GTA 5 came out in 2015.
Now, Green Man points out here Horizon Zero Dawn, but that was PS4 only. You know what I'm saying? So the sales, that was a big title for PS4, but that wasn't across the whole genre. This is one that is it's doing a ton of sales and hitting across all the genres. Now, Horizon Zero Dawn, I would say, was a very, very good release, incredibly well made. I think it surprised a lot of people, and once people saw it, they started purchasing it right away. I think this one for pre-sales is probably doing a lot stronger.
Yeah. So, but we've said for a long time on this show that these games don't come out. I don't want to blow this out of proportion because I know I'm feeding into the hype, and I mean I'm all aboard the train. But
do I need to read you? Do you read your prediction?
No.
Again?
I've already been. I've been wrong. The graphics are screwed up. I mean, I got it. I'm not Jesus. I get it. Okay, everybody doesn't need to tell me. But we don't. It's weird to say, Brian. These games are almost generational because we don't get one. But again, in the last, or maybe GTA 5 came out in like 2013. I mean, it has been years since we've had games like this. Red Dead Redemption, GTA, both Rockstar. There hasn't been one since. So I hope and pray that this thing can live up to its hype. I think it will. Jonesy's saying that the campaign from reports are expected to be about 37 hours of main story, which
that's what I've heard. Yeah.
Which if you take that, meaning most people don't speed run it, that 37 hours could easily be upwards of 50 hours, depending on how you play, how much other world there is to interact with. That includes things like side quests and
that's
NPCs.
Longer than
and frankly,
GTA 5. GTA 5's main quest was 31 hours.
Well, yeah,
Their campaign for GTA 5.
But I would make the argument that I spent maybe double the campaign time in GTA 5 just dicking around in the world. So the question,
that's what I'm hoping for this. That's what I'm hoping. It's a world that's open enough and free enough to where you don't have to follow the main quest line. That was what made GTA 5 special.
And unfortunately, we've lamented Red Dead Redemption 2. As good of a game as it was, there's
Not
such
replayable.
they were in just such a constrained, that frankly the time period, it really locked down what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
You can only ride around on your horse so much. That's boring.
Yeah.
In GTA, you got jets, planes, supercars. Then you just walk down the street and punch hookers in the face. I mean, you can do anything, right? There's so many different means of doing things. Red Dead Redemption's very one-dimensional. Not until later in the game do you get the it's like kind of like a warp system, I think, or like the train system where you can just kind of
fast travel. Yeah,
the fast travel.
System.
You can do that, but that's not till later in the game, and that's not that fast travel's not really fun. So you had that. And Head Neophyte says you can punch hookers in Red Dead Redemption 2. Of course, I don't want to.
Yeah, but then the problem that I had with Red Dead Redemption 2 is you would do anything wrong, and you would have everybody chasing you down. Like in GTA 5, you could kill somebody, you punch somebody, you run a little bit, the cops are off your tail, right? They don't chase you forever. GTA or in Red Dead Redemption 2, you bump somebody on the street, and all of a sudden you have all these cops coming out of nowhere chasing you, and all you have is a horse to get away from them. It was just maddening. And I mean, I did as much. I got a really high completion rate in Red Dead Redemption 2, as far as looking for every single side quest. I've got almost all of them. And I even went to where I would just wander around just looking for things, just because there was a lot of cool stuff happening that seemed like it was just fluid. But the thing is those, once you've seen them once, it's not as interesting to keep. You don't go and, oh, hey, look, that guy's walking down the street and he's going to say this thing again. That's hilarious. You don't do that. And so Red Dead Redemption 2 just was not replayable. But GTA 5 totally is. So I think that they have, I'm pretty sure they would have taken as much from the GTA 5 playbook as possible, because that's one of the most successful type of games that's similar to this. And I'm hoping they did, where there's just, you can run around and start shooting things up, having cops chase you, barricade yourself in a building, all the stuff that you do in GTA 5. I hope that's in this.
Green Man Cartoon says it locked the side quests. That was very annoying until you got to a certain part in the story, saying you couldn't continue certain things because you needed to unlock certain arrows in the story. That's something that GTA did really well. And my hope is that Cyberpunk, frankly, I don't even think it matters how good the campaign is. Now, obviously, if it was god awful, that would be another story. But as long as it's a decent campaign with enough, filler's not the right word to use because you don't want filler. As long as it's a decent and enough size campaign and has enough variety in the side quests, that's the big thing. In Red Dead Redemption, and again, I don't want to talk about it the whole show, most of the side quests were what? Riding around and and catching this thing and then riding all the way back. It's just kind of fetch quests that are fun, but how many times are you just going to ride across the map to ride up to this house to fetch this thing to run all the way back? It's just monotonous. It got really boring. So hopefully Cyberpunk is able to do that. Firebomb's asking if it will have a main story and side quests. Yes, that if it's truly an open world game like they've described it, yes, it will have a main story, side quests, and then also the third element of that is just open world, just walking around and kind of doing nothing, just exploring things, walking into shops, listening to what different NPCs say to you as you walk by them. That was a big thing that GTA had as well. Is you could just walk down the street and some guy will say something to you, you punch him, you guys get in a fist fight, then he shoots at you, you shoot at him, then you're getting chased by the police across the map and you're flying your car off ramps. They're very dynamic. That's not a quest. That's just the game unfolding in front of you. And hopefully Cyberpunk is able to do that. And we'll know that tomorrow.
Well, and that's one thing that was mentioned in chat. Jonesy pointed out that they're going to have multiple starting points because you'll have different lines, classes, pretty much, because this does come from an RPG background. So they're going to have these different starting points, and then the cybernetics and everything that you'll be able to upgrade can be different. So I'm hoping that there's enough variety with that to where even if you build your character in a different way, the gameplay feels different enough. Because I think that's where one area where Red Dead Redemption really fell was that you couldn't really get your character to feel any different. I mean, there was a very limited amount of guns that you could get in Red Dead Redemption 2. Even the armor, there wasn't that much of a variety. And your horse, I mean, you have one horse that's slightly faster. It's not like a motorcycle versus a Ferrari versus an off-road vehicle that you get in GTA. There was nothing they could really do. But in the Cyberpunk world, there's so much they could do. I mean, you could have flying cars, bikes, pretty much all the GTA stuff plus, because you're in such a future world that they can have because in the different videos you've seen flying cars. That is one thing I'm curious of. How difficult will it be to traverse the map? Is this something that day one, like you'll be able to go anywhere on the map versus you're unlocking the map as you go? Or is it just there's areas of the map that you can't quite reach because maybe you don't have a vehicle that's capable of getting there? Because if you remember one of the original preview videos we saw, they showed where a flying car pretty much came in docked, up against a building. You get out and then they start doing a quest. Are they going to be segregating it like that to where there's a lot of areas that you'll never be able to get to, or will you have access to a vehicle that can always go to those places so you can go there again? Maybe the door's locked. I mean, that's one thing we don't even know really to that level, other than the preview video where they show you driving in the very beginning, how much flexibility and how much variety there's going to be even in vehicles. So that's one thing I'm really interested in seeing.
Absolutely. And a lot of those questions will be answered here shortly. Now, there are a couple of things that are out now. One of them, Brian, is apparently a portion of the game that has a bunch of flashing lights that apparently can affect people with epilepsy. Now, that's pretty... You see these disclaimers a lot. So there is apparently a scene that may be a little more extreme than others, but it's not the craziest thing in the world. They did say that there will be some sort of patch or fix or permanent solution to some of these things that could cause somebody to have a seizure, somebody that has epilepsy. So they are working on that. That's a graphical thing. That's a very minor thing to fix. I don't think that will be, that's not going to be game breaking.
Do you want me to read their quote really quick on this?
Yeah, sure.
They did put out a tweet. They said, "Thank you for bringing this up," because someone had pointed this out. "We're working on adding a separate warning in the game aside from the one that exists in the EULA." So pretty much the warning that pops up at the beginning of the game saying that this is a risk. "Regarding a more permanent solution, dev team is currently exploring that and will be implementing it as soon as possible."
So if I'll say this, if that's the biggest issue with the game, that's great news, because that is a very easy graphical fix. You just take it out, or you add a mode in the settings that disables those things, and people
that's probably what they'll end up doing, rather than remaking them, is putting on one that limits the like strobe effects and flashes, because it's tough when you've created scenes that maybe you go into a nightclub or something, and you've got to, you got that all built and it's perfect, to then dull that down. You don't want to take that away if you don't have to, but put in something that a setting where they have ability to maybe detect, or in their settings, that strobe effect is a certain piece of code. Anytime that happens, they limit it, or they change it in a way that's not going to trigger that effect.
Yeah. So that's one of the things. Another one that was interesting here, Brian, is that this game will be available on GeForce Now on launch. Now, if you remember GeForce Now, we haven't talked about them in a while, but there was massive controversy. Many titles and developers and studios have pulled their games off of GeForce Now, claiming that NVIDIA did not have the right to do that with their games. And we really haven't heard a whole lot since that. But obviously, CD Projekt Red, had the right idea with this. There is no such thing as exclusivity with this game. You can buy it on 3 different platforms on PC, plus 2 generations of Xboxes. Well, I guess 4 now with GeForce Now. You can buy it on 4 platforms on the computer: Steam, Epic. They're on something else too, and then GeForce Now, plus all the console versions. So this game will be available to play literally anywhere, including GeForce Now, on launch through GOG. So that will be that's how that's working. If you want to play it on GeForce Now, you have to get the GOG version of Cyberpunk through that. So that's available. They say on December 10th. Don't know again. Don't know exactly what. Don't now. And I will say this. Going back to this chart, I forgot to mention this. This global timing release is for the PC version only. The console versions have different releases. I don't know if I can find it. There was a
What did that say? It said in the lower left. What was that? 'Cause it
Stadia.
said something about PlayStation and all
It's
that
a
in the
PC
lower left
and
of that image.
Did it? Let me see what it says here.
It says on consoles, the game will release in each region at midnight local time.
Yes.
Preload of the game will be available on Thursday, December 3rd at 5 p.m. Central on Xbox, or CET, sorry, and 2 days prior to the release date on PlayStation.
Yes, and I forgot to mention that because I got so caught up in the other thing. But yes,
so they're doing midnight local time
for consoles,
for console,
but not on PC.
Now, what if you do a VPN and you change your time zone?
It's not the VPN. It's to do
your account.
It's something to do with that. There are ways around that, but obviously the biggest way around it is to just use a PC. So they've got that set up. I totally blanked on that till we started talking about the GeForce Now thing. But yeah, to be clear on the times, that map is for PC and Stadia. Presumably every other platform is going to be midnight local time, like most games are. So sorry to clear up any confusion on that. Other than that, there's one other quick thing in terms of modding. There is a Witcher 3 modding project called Wolven Kit, which apparently is pretty popular. I've never used it. I actually, frankly, had never even heard of it. But they are actively working and getting ramped up to work on support, or essentially another version of the mod for Cyberpunk 2077. Something probably similar to what you saw with 5M, how they transitioned over to Red Dead Redemption 2. Or not transition, but a new branch of it for Red Dead Redemption 2. Apparently, we'll see something similar with this Wolven Kit having some sort of moddable Cyberpunk version. I actually don't know what CD Projekt's Red's. I don't know what their stance on modding is.
I think that they have. I think they're very supportive of modding.
So that would be a huge change from their, from Rockstar.
Yeah,
Huge
because you can use like the Nexus mod manager and install mods in it. They actually have they have built-in support for mods, if I remember correctly, on Witcher. So this is much better than GTA for sure. I mean, Rockstar compared to this, and that would be interesting to see. We've seen what they've tried to do with GTA, you know, just because it's so realistic and they're able to, the role playing really fits into it. If this group actually really embraces the modding and the role play, will you see this become kind of like what 5M is? Just, but it's so much easier and they can do so much more. And hopefully, if they do, and it becomes incredibly successful, that might influence Rockstar a little bit to release the keys a little bit and let people actually do modding without it feeling like it's hacking, like it does right now.
Yeah, that now, and obviously that's not quite so. To me, modding is not quite so important now, but as this game ages
later,
out,
yeah, exactly, to keep it alive. I mean, look at GTA 5 is only alive because of modding now.
Well, and the other unknown with this too is when is multiplayer, right? We from what we've read, it's about a year out,
and it'll be a separate client too.
It will be. So you'll have, let's just say 6 months. Let's say between 6 months between now and when the campaign probably fizzles out, might be the right word to use. I mean, this is not a game you're going to be able to play every single day for 5 or 6. I mean, some people might, but it's not going to be a game you're going to play every single day for 6 months for 5 or 6 hours. There's not enough content, at least from what I understand. So I wonder if the modding will pick up and then the multiplayer will come out and then the modding will really pick up and then maybe we'll see what we've seen with GTA, which is an unbelievable amount of players on a game that has been out for so long. Now, they did have, a 2-year delay on the PC version of GTA 5. Came out significantly later than the console versions, but still incredibly successful for the age of the game. And with Rockstar's hesitation to modding, it's a shock that it works at all. But this with modding is interesting.
Yeah, so definitely looking forward to it, and it'll be. We'll know tomorrow night.
Yep.
We'll see if it is everything that we hoped it would be.
23. Now, are you going to play this tomorrow night?
Yeah, I'll be playing it. Now, the issue for me, I was planning on starting playing it on console, but if it's not going to be around till midnight, then I need to run my installer here on PC.
It's only
loaded.
It's quick. It didn't take that long.
So, I mean, I've got the GOG launcher. After the show here, before I go to hockey, I'll probably kick the download and get it going. But I was planning on starting on console. But if that's correct, to where it's not till midnight, I'm not going to stay up till midnight. You know, I don't feel like staying up all night playing it. So I'll just put it on computer and play initially, get my feet wet.
The one final thing that I'm interested in is going to be specs. Now, we did look at hardware a couple of weeks ago, but both you and me, Brian, well, you've got an older CPU, but we both got similar video cards. I'm very interested to see how the higher end 10,000 series cards perform, especially.
Well, and even on the 3080s, they're saying that you cannot do 4K 60 frames. I mean,
yeah, which I'm not.
I've seen rumors that this is the new Crisis.
Yeah, which, I mean, there hasn't been a Crisis since Crisis 2. Really, I mean, there are some games, but there hasn't been a Crisis in quite some time in terms of how hard it is to run. I've got these nice AOC 144 hertz 1440p monitors. Now, obviously, I know my 1070 is not going to do that right away, but presumably, I'd be looking to get a new 3000 series card soon TM, or at this point, I might be so desperate that I might end, and desperate is maybe not the right word to use, but I might be willing to even buy one of those new AMD cards that look to be on par, just because there seems to be more stock in those, because these damn cards are, I mean, impossible to get. I haven't seen anything about people getting their hands on them as of late, so we'll see what happens with that. But that's the other thing I'm really interested about, is I hope, because again, most people don't have, well, I shouldn't say most people, a lot of people are still running 10,000 series cards.
Yeah.
And I'll be curious to see what
I'm
that
just hoping
performance
it's not
looks
a
like.
lousy experience. I mean, I don't want it to lower the settings to medium or lower. But
Well,
we'll
I
see.
would be fine with medium. Again, Brian, these cards that you and I are rocking are 5+ year. I mean, these are 5-year-old cards. So I'm not expecting to play Cyberpunk on high, but I would expect on medium, with, decent texture detail that it's playable. Again, I'm not expecting to get 144 hertz, but if I can get a solid 40, 45 frames with, again, old GPU, I understand I have an old GPU. I'd be fine with that. I just hope this doesn't totally kill me. Judd's rocking a 1070 i9 9900K. I'm rocking a Ryzen 9 3900X and a 1070. I just hope that I can play it at a decent rate.
Yep. And we'll see. It'll be interesting. But nothing. I do have the Series X on there, so I'll be interested to see how well, if it does 4K, how much are they having to lower the graphics to actually hit 4K? Is it better to just do 1080 with high graphics? I'll just play around with that and see what actually happens.
Well, I officially now hate Joshua, who says he managed to get a 3080 last week. That is blasphemy. Magoogan asks, when is the 3000 series giveaway? Magoogan, if you can get your hands on multiple 3000 series, we're not giving them away. See, we can get giveaway copies of Cyberpunk. You can just keep buying them. But we are not giving away 3000 series cards because they don't exist. They're like a myth. I don't think they actually exist. Joshua says that the stock in New Zealand for the 3000 series cards is decent. I guess, that might be a problem in the U.S. and parts of North America. So, with that, we're now under 23 hours for our live audience. We are giving away a copy of Cyberpunk 2077. We'll do that giveaway here in about an hour or so. You can enter !giveaway in chat to get in on a copy of that. And we've got about 20 people or so entered, and we'll be giving that away here in about an hour or so. All right. I think that about does it for our cyberpunkness. What road should we take from here?
Well, let's do a little bit of Twitch news.
Okay.
They did do an announcement here that they are changing one of the tags that you can do called blind playthrough.
Yes.
Because they're saying that is not inclusive language to blind people. So now they're doing it as first playthrough. Which, I mean, first graders, are they going to get pissed? I don't know. I didn't know that the word blind. Now I'm learning that people should be ashamed of what they are, because I didn't realize blind was a bad thing. I mean, it's like me. I'm brown hair. I'm not mad. You can call me brown hair. I'm white.
What I did find interesting in here was that somebody said, so what Twitch actually did, and to say, and obviously supporting
it's not a forced thing, right?
Well, it's not even that it's not a forced thing, but obviously there are many different things that you can do to make your game different levels of accessibility for audio, whatnot. But here are 3 things that Twitch should do that they currently haven't. They don't have a high contrast theme or a bold theme, which would help people that are not completely blind,
that actually have vision issues,
but are legally blind, right? They don't have a setting for chat and emote sizes, and then they don't have a way to separate an audio track for text to speech for people that can't read at all. So what they did was just get rid of the tag. They got rid of a tag that said blind playthrough, but they didn't actually add any of the 3. These are just 3 suggestions of things that they could to actually help people.
They didn't make the lives of a blind person better in any way other than saying that you can't use the title of what they are in anything. Now, one thing they did do recently, and we didn't really talk about this, is they've come up with a way in OBS to be able to separate the audio track from the stream track so that you have the ability to take it out later.
It's not even that. It is a separate track that the VOD uses. So you send 2 audio streams to Twitch, and one is a VOD audio thing that does not have that you register or that you configure to not have DRM music. And then the other one is your live track, which can have it because they're not copyright claiming on live. They're copyright claiming on
so it's
VOD.
only the VODs.
Correct.
So you're having a VOD, like something that'll...
It's an audio
kind of
track
play in the
for the
background.
VOD. Like it's a sub-channel. You can have multiple channels of multi-tracking, essentially, which is very cool. But instead of Twitch can do all these cool things, but what they did for all of the blind folks was just remove the name. They didn't actually add any new accessibility features. So.
I mean, is the word blindfold, is that I almost said racist. Is that, I don't even know what it would be called.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hateful. Blindfold.
Yeah,
I mean, is that a bad word? I didn't realize blindfold was a bad word
no, I
because
don't think
you put it on and it makes you blind, equivalent to blind.
Yeah, I'm not. There's a bunch of people in here that are saying, I am literally legally blind, and this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So take that for what it's worth. But that did pop up on my feed this week as something that Twitch was working on, and all of the issues going on.
The definition is unable to see. I mean, someone pulled out the actual definition. And I'm sure they're going to change the definition next week because that's been their new thing to do. When it doesn't fit what they want, they change the meaning of the word. But blind is unable to see for whatever reason. The second is lacking perception, awareness, or discernment. So awareness, a blind playthrough means you're playing through not being aware of what's going to happen. It's actually the definition of the word. Yet we can't use it. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. They're searching for something to be offended by.
Yeah. Now I'm going to be honest.
I encourage people to read 1984. Or was it 1984, right? Newspeak. This is called Newspeak. They take away words because they feel they're too many and they're simplifying the language so that they can't offend anyone. And you can't actually say anything with clarity. It's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I kind of put it in there for that reason because I don't know where I saw it on Twitter, but I was dumbfounded after I read it. I was like, I thought maybe I was drunk or high or in a dream or in another universe. I didn't really know what was happening because it was such an unbelievable tweet. But there it is. So if you're somebody that is blind and you were looking for some accessibility features on Twitch, no, you didn't get those. But they did get rid of the tag blind playthrough. So good on you, Twitch. Appreciate that very much.
Saving the world.
Saving the world
thing at a time.
One crazy thing at a time. I did get an email this week, Brian, which I was very excited about from the folks over at Penny Arcade. If you remember back in around the middle of the year, they were one of the last groups to cancel their event. I believe PAX West was the last event canceled. They had delayed it. They had changed some things, but they had and they even put out press releases that we have a full intention of holding our show this year. Now, obviously things got a little too out of hand prior to Labor Day weekend when PAX normally is, but the Penny Arcade had full intentions on hosting their show. And in their email press release that I got this past week, they are, as of right now, planning on hosting all of their PAX events this upcoming year. Now, normally their first one of the year kicks off in March. That's in Boston. That's PAX East, which we went to in 2017. They've delayed that till June of next year. Then they've kept PAX West where it normally is, which is September 3rd through the 6th, or Labor Day weekend in the United States. PAX Unplugged, which is their board gaming event, that's going to take place December 10th through 12th in Philadelphia. And then PAX Australia has not been announced yet, but that will likely be into early 2022 for that. So this, and I believe they are now the first group to say that they're anticipating on having shows. And they didn't just come out and say, hey, we're going to host shows. They've given dates, and presumably they've already put some sort of reservations or something in for this for these venues, it would be the convention center in Boston, the Seattle Convention Center in Washington, wherever they do it in Philadelphia. They are planning on having these events and have these dates planned out. So while I'm not sure many other events will happen, they say pending improvement in the global COVID-19 situation, Brian, I do think that there's a chance that we will have some, and PAX may be the only one, maybe GDC, which I know is around the same time. But there may be some sort of in-gaming shows next year.
I did see Epic put out a notice saying that they will do no live Fortnite events in 2021.
That's
so
fine.
they've already committed that they're not doing a single live event. So we'll see how many people have committed to that, and if that will affect at all their ability to fill the conference center.
I can tell you what, I don't think it will.
I doubt they won't. Will.
It'll be obvious. I presume. Well, I'm not even going to go into hypotheticals. It's way too far out to know what's going to happen. But it is nice to see that in an industry which tends to be, how to phrase this, in an industry that tends to be on one side of the political aisle, PAX and the folks over at Penny Arcade are leading in this charge to get back to some semblance of normality when it comes to in-person things. And I'm glad, and I'm humbled might not be the right word, Brian, but I mean it's cool that an event that we've taken part in and had the opportunity to take a part in is, not running with their tails between their legs saying, oh my God, everybody's going to die. They're saying, hey, we hope things are going to improve. It looks like they will. And with that being the case, we're going to have 4 shows next year. Hopefully they'll come out and join us. That's really cool to see. And hopefully other industries, and in this case, in terms of gaming, hopefully other conventions follow suit. E3, of course, being a big one. PAX is not a show like E3. It's very much a CES kind of show. The main thing is consumers and press interacting with the developers. It's not a big keynote show. It's not a keynote like an Apple keynote. It's not that. It's very much walking around a show floor, checking things out, touching things, looking at games, playing demos. So it doesn't work virtually. That's just you don't do PAX virtually. It doesn't make any sense. E3 you could, because it's not as big of an event. There's a lot of emphasis on the shows, the pressers, the keynotes. PAX is not like that. So cool stuff from the folks over at Penny Arcade, and hopefully we will have maybe we'll see each other next year, Brian, at PAX West. Hopefully, yeah.
All right. So before we move on, because we got a whole bunch of games we're going to talk about here, there's one more, I guess, additional topic I want to cover, and that's they just released Unreal Engine 4.26, and there's some really important things that are going to lead into some of the big changes into the type of games that we play. And so, first of all, they had a sizzle reel, and so that will kind of lightly touch on a few of the things that are in here, and then there's just a few things I want to point out from that in a little bit more depth. So this is 4.26.
That's cool.
I know. This is right up your alley.
I'm going to build the game.
Is he working at Epic and he hasn't told us? Jonesy.
All right, chat. We can do with that. Wow, that's Unreal jokes. Come on. I mean, be original with your text comments. I mean, Jesus. Come on, people. It's practically 2021, and you're gonna give me wow, that's Unreal. Come on, guys, I expect better from that. Now, Brian, I will say, wow, that was pretty cool. The weather and the water. Of course, water is the huge one. Weather and water are two of the water. More specifically, is probably the case. Is probably the situation in which games have the biggest issue, and in a lot of cases, just ignore it because it is such a pain in the ass. And it appears
and resource intensive. The big thing is first of all, they've been really pushing towards film. If you look at Mandalorian, they've been doing Mandalorian in Unreal Engine. And so those graphics and everything you're seeing happening in real time, I think that because of probably the money that they're getting from that, they pretty much have just funded things that make that work perfectly. For instance, the hair here, you see the hair. Now that's because it's not rendered, it looks really rough. But they put a lot of things to make hair look realistic. They put it in a whole new sky system that you're seeing here right now. And these are things that used to have to get third-party plugins to be able to do. Also, they have in there the water system that they showed. That was one of the biggest resource hogs in the game engine, because you get third party ones, and you try to you try to get it to work, and water would just drop you 30 frames per second, on most systems. And so these things being built into the engine now have really made it to where you can go through and put some of these kind of luxury features in, and they don't bring the system to a crawl. So you'll start seeing see people putting in better water systems that actually have oceans in these open world games, weather systems that actually have clouds with storms and that don't cause your system to start going 15 frames per second the second that rain happens and things start getting wet and the storm clouds come in. These are some really important things that they put in this version. I would say this is probably one of the most feature-rich releases that I've seen yet. They've done a release here and there where they'll put one thing in, oh, that's really cool. But this, with some of the animation things that they put in, the hair and fur system, the water system, just all of it together. This is a very impressive release that I think is really, you're going to start seeing 3, 4, 5 months from now in patch notes, them games starting to implement these things where it enhances the frame rates, the performance, also visually, it'll not take it to the next level. I think it's going to be really cool.
Hell Self says, I wish I was competent enough to play with toys like UE / anything above Notepad. I'm in the same boat. There's a lot of cool stuff to do in Unreal and even in Unity, but I'm like marginally retarded, so that stuff just doesn't work out too well. But there is a lot of cool stuff, and even we play this little video thing here in the pre-show that our friend Judd made for us.
Judd built that, right? Yeah.
Well, but he built it. This is not an After Effects project. This is not a VFX. This is something in Unreal Engine that was exported.
Yep.
So it's a real live scene. Traditionally this stuff would be done in a video effects engine, and Unreal has turned into that. I told you.
And one thing I've tried to do is I kind of watch who they hire, because it tells me what's about to happen next. For instance, they hired the guy who made one of the best water plugins. They hired him 6 months ago or something like that, or maybe longer. It's hard with COVID. It's been a year that's flown by. They've hired the guy who made the best control rig for animation, and that's in this release. The water's in this release. I don't know who they hired for weather, because I'm not sure. There was a company who did weather, but I'm sure they hired probably one of their top guys out of that. Also, we had the animation guy who made that animation system, the movement system that I've talked about in Unreal Engine before. They've hired him, Caleb. Judd just brought it out, just mentioned his name. So I'm expecting in one of the upcoming releases to have a totally new movement system that's kind of built into the engine for the starting part. So it's just, they're doing a really good job of getting the best that's out there, bringing them into the company and building it into the engine, so that you don't, because when things are done third party and through plugins, you lose performance, it's difficult to integrate. And so now I think you're really starting to see I think you're really starting to see people, the fruits of these hires that they've done, and them being able to finish some of the projects and getting them built into the engine.
Yeah, and it's clear that they have taken the lead in that industry. I mean, there are still proprietary engines that exist that studios use, but in terms of mass market, I think it's safe to say that Unreal is the gold standard.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that they're really setting themselves apart. Epic or Unity is putting out patches, but you can't go look at the Unity patches. Like, I've skimmed through because I've started posting in our patches channel, the Unity updates, and I go look at them, and there's just not these things like this where it's like, oh man, that's awesome, or that's a big, that's a game changing thing. Unity is kind of just fixing bugs, doing some updates to things that people that are really in the know on the systems are like, oh, well, that's going to save me, 5 frames per second, things like that. But not these things like this that are going to be instantly visible in a game, if they put them in.
Absolutely. All right. Well, with that being the case, let's talk about some survival games, Brian. And we've got an update here from our friends over at XERA, a pretty large update. This is their development vlog number 4. There's a whole bunch of things in here. And we'll talk about the roadblock here in a few their roadmap here in a few minutes. Throughout season 3, they've been working on some things with animations. Connor, who is one of their animators, has been working on a whole bunch of the animations, and you can actually see one of them here. Working on idle, firing. You can see the complexity of this animation. You can see it actually from a couple different views, from your point of view and then from kind of a camera behind your right shoulder view. And you can see how smooth it looks. You put the magazine or the clip into the gun, you pull a slide back, and the gun is ready to fire. So those animations are very much being worked on there and being cleaned up. So that's very exciting to see. They've got some new character customization screenshots in here that Joshua actually sent us this past week, but are now in this dev vlog, so you can see what's going on here. A couple different hair or non-hair variants, some longer hair, somebody that's bald with facial hair, and then more of a buzz cut with that. And then here are some other different hair. They did note, Brian, unlike other games, Rust and Scum, that the base models will be wearing underwear. There's no full nudity. Full nudity is not planned at this point, which I know is a big thing. That's in what? That's in Conan. That's in Scum. Mm-hmm. That's in Rust. Is it in Ark? I don't think it's in Ark. But it is.
They do have the one. They do have the one that it's the skin that blurs it, but that's as close as you get.
That does tend to be an interesting thing that some survival games implement, but they did want to let us know that is not the case here. They've been working on some new cosmetics and weapons as well as some newly designed humanoids, which are the main NPC enemies in the game. You can see the different versions here. There's the regular one, the one that jumps. It's got those kind of curved robot legs. The suicide one that will run up to you and explode, and then the boss one. So you can see the redesign of those and how that's going along. The road system, which is something that we've showed pictures of a couple months ago. We thought it was a runway. It turns out it's just them playing around with the road system and how that is all looking and playing out. So you can see some pictures here. In this picture, there is an overpass onto like some sort of higher freeway system, which is something cool. Not typically something you don't see in survival games. The roads typically tend to be flat. There's bridges, but there doesn't ever tend to be like interstate systems. And then one more here showing what a possible bridge, maybe under a waterway or some sort of gully thing, would look like. So we've got that. We've also got some new items here that are being worked on and models are being updated for. Some sort of there's a fuel depot, some sort of generator or air conditioner unit in that, and then in this one you can see a chainsaw, a tree chipper, and some sort of what appears to be a metal storage container with that as well, plus maybe some different things to get rid of some trees. So you've got that in there as well. The new map is progressing well. We've got some more pictures of that. It is an 8x8 kilometer map, 64 squared. And we have shown some pictures in the past, but we've got a couple new ones out here, Brian, showing some different things on this. This is on the side of a hilltop. You can see plenty of foliage, skies populated with clouds, and then in the distance you can see a bit of a mountain structure there in the distance. And then this, probably from a similar aspect on the other side, plenty of foliage. Again, still see clouds in the sky, and then a mountain range that is much further off. Not sure if that's even in the map or if that's just a part of the skybox. But you can see the progress on the map coming along. It looks great. And then finally, one of the big things that we've been looking for in this game and a whole bunch of other games is base building. They are working on their base building system. It's in the roadmap. We've talked about it. It's going to be a combination of modular and prefabricated buildings, which they're saying will allow, creative control, but will balance some aspects of other bases. They've been considering how that's going to work with safe settlements, combinations, and all those things. They're going to work on a capture period, which is something that, don't you remember when H1Z1 made that comeback? They did that, Brian, that capture period where your base would disappear and then it would auto rebuild. That was kind of a cool concept. It's not traditional. Like Ark doesn't have that. Rust doesn't have that.
Remember, Atlas did a little bit of something where you could capture a zone. It never.
Well, you still do
seemed
that
to work. Yeah, I mean they do it still, but it never seemed to work 100% correct.
So you've got that in there. That's kind of a cool element. It's not traditional for survival, but it is a very cool element. So you'll see how that goes. They're working on some more missions for season 3 as well, including new rewards. That includes currency, loot, skins, crates, and different experience points. So they're working on that. Their big bunker events, which we talked about with the new key card system, a skin trading up system, something that's been suggested to them multiple times. They're working on making that available. And then finally, they've got previews here of 2 of the skins that they're going to have for their holiday patch, which I would say these are very cool looking winter skins. This one is like a mix. This is a gingerbread house, essentially a gingerbread house skin on a sniper rifle. And then the other one here is a Santa Claus style AR-15 setup here full of stars excuse me, maybe that's a nutcracker. Yeah, I think that is actually a nutcracker.
Yeah, it's a nutcracker.
On there, but a similar thing with its holiday theme on that as well. So that's just 2 of the items that'll be upcoming in their winter event 2020. We don't have a date on that, but presumably that will be within the next couple weeks. And it'll be there. There will be Christmas trees placed around the map that will spawn presents. They'll have a random chance of giving you holiday gear, skin crates, normal loot, military loot, and high tier loot. There's also a chance of a grenade spawning. So you could have a little bit of an IED thing going on there with the presents under the tree. So a huge update, dev blog for XERA. This is update number 4. If you want to check out any of those screenshots, you can do so. And they did say with this, Brian, their community of players has grown to over 73,000 players, which they are very excited about, and seems to be growth that they're happy with. So that is that's all we've got on XERA. Huge development update.
That's season 3, right? And then they're doing season 4 is some of the things that we're seeing, the new map and the base building, all that. That'll be season 4. And I did put a link into the roadmap for people that maybe would be interested in seeing what's going to be happening in the next couple of seasons. And so that you can follow it and get notices as they start to accomplish each thing. So that will be in the link with XERA.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's talk really quickly about Destiny 2. We don't tend to talk about it a lot, but I know a lot of people do play it. They are adding in a cross-play system in 2021. They did do a lot of changes to make it to where your account could be moved between console, PC. When they did add it on multiple systems, they allowed you to choose which characters you wanted to use. But they're actually going to be adding in crossplay, so you have the ability to play with your friends on various other platforms. here in 2021. So keep an eye out for that. I just saw the notice. That'll be helpful because I play it on all three. I have it on PC, I have it on Xbox, and I have it on PlayStation. One nice thing is that on PlayStation, sorry, I got a cough for one quick second.
Yes.
Xbox. Sorry, I got it. On Xbox, they have it to where it's included in their Game Pass, all the expansions. So, if you play on PlayStation, it's very difficult. You can't play with your friends, and so this will be something that makes it a lot easier since all of us are spread on various games across all consoles and platforms.
I've never gotten into either Destiny. I know I've thought about Destiny 2 a couple of times because it does seem to be kind of the game. It's kind of that hybrid between more of a hardcore game like World of Warcraft, but it's got a lot of the FPS elements that make it a lot more casual. But I just have never gotten into it, even though it's literally free on a whole bunch of different platforms.
Yeah, and I've enjoyed it. It's a fun kind of casual game. I mean, it can be as hardcore as you want to make it, but it's one where you can just run around and do missions and pick it up here and there. It can be as casual as you want it to be. So it's a nice game that there's not really a time commitment to it unless you get into the raiding and join a group and do all that. Or it can be just one you run around and play. They don't have a bunch of subscription fees to it. You can get a season pass type of thing, but it's a fun game to play. So if people are interested, if they do have an Xbox with the Game Pass, try it out and you can do all the newest content. And I think people enjoy it.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Last Oasis here for a minute, Brian. We've got a couple things going on with that. We've got a new item, the poaching hut that they've added to the game. So let's look at that real quick, and then we'll cover some of the other things here in this devlog. And then there was a short patch as well. Okay. So, as always with Last Oasis, they're always interesting videos.
I love how all the details and the words they put in there.
Yeah, it's always a very interesting. Now poaching, of course, is I don't know the exact definition of poaching, but it's used with hunting and fishing a lot, and it's typically illegal. Like if you're on somebody's property hunting something, that would be considered poaching, I believe. I'm not a big hunter. So that's what this thing is. It's a poaching hut. The owner around it reaps harvesting bonuses from the area around it. Now, the interesting thing about this, Brian, is this game's big thing is your walker. And this is one of the first items that doesn't really seem to revolve around that, right?
This ties you down a little bit.
Yes, which is not what this game is. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a purpose-built item where, I mean, it's mainly for getting food and things like that. So I guess you could place one down in an area and then get some food, probably pick it up, put it back in your walker, and then keep moving. It says it allows you to reap harvesting bonuses from the area. So you pretty much place it, get the bonus from the area, and then before you leave, pack it up, put it in your walker, and go. So it is more of a temporary thing. So I guess that kind of does make sense. It's not like a house. You're not staying there. You can just leave it and do your own things and run around. So, but it'll be interesting to see how much they go this way, because so far it's been totally mobile, as you said. But are they going to have it to where maybe they try to get you to feel like you're temporarily having a little bit more roots in an area, and then you kind of pack up? I think it does change the feeling of the game if you're doing that from 100% nomadic to you're nomadic. You set roots down for a little bit, try to get as much of a bonus as you can before the thing chases you out and you have to go to the next section. I think that does do a little bit better a job of making it feel like the thing behind you is pushing you, because you're having to put some roots in and then, you see it coming. I think it does for the thought process of the game add a little bit to it that maybe adds a better feeling of urgency to move, because before you could always just kind of stay ahead of it enough to where it's not really ever a real threat. But if you have to place something down and then have to stay there long enough to get the bonus of it, you then feel pushed.
Correct. So they've got that in there. That's their new item. They made a bunch of changes to the trading stations and merchants. They've expanded the foundation height for all foundation, adjusted the stone window size, removed foliage growing on horizontal structure stone parts, and then improved door collision to avoid ammo going through some tiny holes and cracks. So that was a bit of an issue. A whole bunch of other changes in here as well. We're running a little long on time, so I don't want to spend too much on it. And then there was a quick patch here, 1.4.33726. Some bounces. I'll read through the fixes and improvements. They fixed meshing through walls with scatter shot, which is a type of ammo. They fixed characters jittering on moving walkers. That's always been an issue in games. Whenever something is flying or moving, your character does kind of hitch back and forth constantly. So they appear to be fixing some of those. Fixed player number displays on the world UI. They fixed furnaces not being locked when above 50 HP, and then fixed items disappearing from the walker containers after unpacking. And that was tied with server restarts. So a couple of things going on there in Last Oasis, a new item, and then a couple of patches and some things that they've been working on. So that's Last Oasis.
Very good. Let's go ahead and move on to Satisfactory. This one, they're doing their holiday patch. So they have their holiday events going on. They have a video for this, a lot of cool things that they've added in. So let's go ahead and do that. And then they have a few little patches.
When did this video get added? This must have been a late addition to the show.
Oh, did you? Sorry. No, it was on there, but I think you just didn't see it.
Well, I mean, hold on. No.
Because I try to always mark them with video.
Yeah, but I mean, this may have been a late addition to the show notes. So hold on a second here. Let me get this pulled up.
Well, we can pretend it is. It'll make you feel better.
It's not going to make you feel better. I downloaded all of the videos before the show got started around 6:30. This was not on the list.
I did the show notes at 4:00, but it's okay.
I'm going to go back and look at their change logs on Google after this. So
right,
let's watch this stupid Satisfactory video. Why is there no audio? There it is. Exhilarating.
Initiating Fixmas. Ho ho ho. All right, a little Satisfactory update here. Available now. They're Fixmas, F-I-C-S, instead of F-I-X. Yeah, there you go.
And a lot of visuals, as far as some of the existing buildings now have trees and lights and all kinds of cosmetics that have been added to them. They did do some optimization fixes and things in this patch as well. Some quality of life things, some extra settings for your field of view modifier, things like aspect ratios. Also, they did do a couple of bug fixes on here. And most of these are just, some of them were fixing some of the new changes that were related to this Christmas patch. And then one of the other bugs that happen. So nothing really crazy with the rest of the patches, all just small fixes. But yeah, the holiday, a lot of people, Satisfactory has really turned into a satisfying game for a lot of people. There's some people in chat that are saying that they've been playing this exclusively. I know a lot of people are playing this exclusively. So if you are with the latest update, you sure will notice a lot of visual updates and some different things with airdrops and all that. So keep an eye on it. That is Satisfactory.
Brian, I'm sorry. I just looked at the revision history on the Google Doc. You
Mm-hmm.
did add that video like 4 hours ago.
Yeah.
I'm a stupid jackass. I apologize. I just didn't see it.
It's all right.
So I just,
it's okay.
Hey, I'll tell you what.
What I should do is I should bold.
No,
the
you
video
shouldn't.
so
No,
it's
you
easier
shouldn't
to
have
see.
to bold them because I caught every single other one. I just didn't catch this one. So I'm gonna,
That's right.
Brian, we're never wrong on this program, but every once in a while, like we were definitely right about the Cyberpunk times. There was no doubt about that. But I was wrong about this, and I was wrong that the game wasn't coming out tomorrow. Oh well, yet to be seen, but it's not looking good.
Yeah. Hey, finally, there's one that we can cross off the old list here.
Oh, will you stop? You've had plenty of wrong predictions. Like cowboy games are going to be the next hot thing. Rust is going to go to the moon. Come on. Brian, you have grandchildren by the time cowboy games are the next big thing.
It may still happen. It may.
Cyberpunk might not. There might be there's an asteroid the size of a refrigerator barreling towards Earth right now.
Cyberpunk may not release in time. That is possibly true.
Did you see the thing from the Israeli the former head of the Israeli space agency that said that there's an alien colony?
Aliens, yeah.
Yeah. So like,
what am I?
Oh hell,
for one of the
aliens could come tonight.
So I work for a government agency part time, for some of my hours every day, and that was an email was sent to the IT department with that notice talking about that topic. I was like, okay, I assume that they're thinking it's funny and it's a joke, they're really letting us know.
All I'm saying is if this guy, this Israeli space guy, who was apparently the head of their space agency, said that there's alien colonies. I'm just saying, maybe tonight,
maybe
tonight they decide they're gonna come destroy the Earth. The day before Cyberpunk. I could still be wrong.
Just so Nick could be right.
I won't be able.
Nick's been praying to the alien gods.
There won't be any way for me to prove it, of course, because But hey, I'll be right as I'm getting vaporized by an alien laser beam.
You'll yell, "I was right." You won't be able to finish it.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. And of course, it is still 2020, so absolutely. Subject to change.
Anything can't happen.
No, true.
All right, let's go and talk. There's a small little patch by Astroneer. This is their holiday update as well. We're going to have, I'm sure, in the next week or two, or with Miscreated the day after Christmas, I'm sure we'll get a patch. But so Astroneer here put out their holiday update where they have the Tinseltown palette. They have a lot of just different things that they've done, hats and visors and all kinds of things that are various holiday themes. They also put in a high quality mode. So to the new high quality mode for higher end hardware, they've changed like draw distances, shadow quality, all of this. And so if you have on PC, of course, you can put the slider to the high quality mode. Also, they added support for limited high quality support on the Xbox One with Series X and Series S option. They added support for limited high quality on PS4 as well with a more involved PS5 option. And then they added code fixes for field of view, added various CPU and GPU optimizations to this. And then they fixed a frame hitching issue that they were running into. Other than that, they had did improvements to the shuttle controls. They added some new platforms to the game. They added a bunch of items like candy crown hats, sugar coat palette, sweet outlook visor, new mat, just a whole bunch of things. So, and then bug fixes. So that's pretty much the Astroneer patch.
Very cool. Let's talk about Arc for a second here, Brian. I think it was the community manager, or not the community.
Cedric.
Is that what they call the community manager? Is that what they're talking
about? Well, no,
his
name is Cedric. His name is Cedric. Whatever.
Okay.
I don't remember what they call himself, but yeah.
So, obviously, if you've ever played Arc, you know about their Thanksgiving event, which is always the turkey. Now they're called super turkeys. If you aggro them, they follow you around the map and they are persistent even with death.
So even if you die, they don't unaggro, and they will literally go across the entire map. Like they'll be gone for days, and then they'll just show up and start attacking you. So they released an interesting graph here. This is death by super turkeys and player deaths and dino deaths. So, and this is 2019 to 2020, the 2 different years. So on your blue part of your bar graph is 2019, the orange is 2020. So on PC, this year, there were almost 45,000 player deaths by super turkeys. I don't know what the hell people are doing on the PlayStation. There's almost 82,000 deaths, almost double the number on PS4 of super turkeys, and about 56,000 or so on the Xbox. And then on the dinos that got killed by the super turkeys, 10,000 on PC, 12,500 on PS4, and then about 8,900 or so on Xbox. What this showed to me, Brian, and the reason I actually put this on here was not to talk about the number of turkeys that are killing people, is that they must have some baller numbers on the PlayStation 4 because
that's what I took out of that graph too.
Yeah.
Looking at it, I was just thinking this is giving us probably a pretty good idea of the spread of player numbers across various consoles.
So there's a couple things that come to mind. First of all, the PC, I don't mean to be derogatory towards anybody with this. The PC players probably tend to be a little bit better, not because they're better, because it's a whole lot easier to navigate and maneuver.
To build and to do everything, yeah.
I think that stuff's a lot easier to do. I don't know how you play a game like Ark or Rust or any of these games on a controller. There's too much finesse. I don't see how you do it. But it's fully available and people are playing it. So I'm sure some of the ways that you can kind of get around the turkeys on the PC version might not be as easily done on the PS4. But if we look at an average week, Brian, of Ark, their average 7-day concurrent player count is anywhere between 80 and 90,000. So if you take, and again, you can't draw exact numbers from this, but if we look at these super deaths by turkeys and player count, if there's any sort of correlation there could be 200,000 people playing this game at any given point on the PS4, and plus possibly another 120,000 on Xbox.
Well, and I would think also that the reason on the dino deaths by super turkey would be so high on a PC is because PC players, first of all, probably been playing longer. There's a much larger amount of dinos probably tamed by PC players with mega bases and everything else. So I would guess that just because the play styles might be a little bit different because of how difficult it is, I would assume that the console players are probably not building as big of bases and taming as many dinos, and maybe are playing a little bit different of a style. But I would think that probably the player deaths by turkeys is probably the most accurate of what tells you how many players. And it looks like there's more players on PS4 and Xbox than PC than PC is what I'm gathering from this. You wouldn't think so because it's been out so much longer on PC. But the numbers really seem to indicate that.
PH's takeaway is that PC players move on faster because there's more games to move on to. So that's his takeaway from the chart.
That's true too, yeah.
But I found this to be very interesting. I would find it shocking if there wasn't at least 150,000, if not more people or so people playing on the PS4 version of this game. Because there's got to be. There can't be less. Be killing the entire player, be killing the whole player base twice over. So if this is any indication, you could be looking at Ark at any given point during the week having 250,000 concurrent players on PC, PS4, and Xbox, and during a peak hour, 300,000+ concurrent players. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it really does show that these survival games do well on console. They're not for me, but they're clearly for somebody. Somebody's playing.
Well, and you
even
can
if
now
the player
plug
numbers
in
aren't
keyboard
accurate.
and mouse.
82,000 people got killed by turkeys in a 1 week time frame. That's not 10 people dying, a whole bunch of times. That's a huge player base. So,
and I wonder how many people are playing with keyboard and mouse on this as well, because you can plug in. I mean, but this game, it just seems like it would be so much easier.
True. So I thought that was rather interesting. I saw that just after the show last week, but it really brought the player count to thing here. A couple of updates. 3.18.12, they prevented more turkey trial cosmetics from being grindable. And then 3.18.14, the turkey trial event colors will now properly show up in the cooler regions on the wild creatures. So that was 2 patches, and both revolving around the turkey trial. And that is that's their Thanksgiving event that's going on. So that's all we've got from the folks over at ARC.
All right, and another one of their products, Atlas, put out a patch, and mostly that. First of all, they added a new structure to this called the Small Armored Dock. It's a 20 million health dock on there. Upkeep cost is 50 gold every 24 hours, and then they have a list of the different resources to build it. But this is suitable for protecting schooners and sloops. Can be crafted as a smithy there. Also, the large armored dock, they increased its health from 300,000 to 30 million. So they're making these much stronger so that I guess people aren't just, like what we used to do, all you do is go stand on a boat and you can sink the thing. I guess they're trying to prevent that kind of thing. Also, they decreased the upkeep cost from 500 to 150 gold every 24 hours. And then added 50,000 gold cost for crafting it. They did do some tweaks to that armored dock. Also, the ships, they decreased the price of the ships. For the Brigantine, for example, is from 25,000 to 18,000. They also increased the max level of common ships from 42 to 50. And so this change only applies to ships built after the patch. So if you have a ship that's built already, they're not going to change that ship. You will just have to level that ship up. It's not going to automatically take your level 42 ship and make it 50. They also did a lot of tweaks to the trade system. They added some new resource types for trading, like rushes, which was missing from Thatch, oil category with some variants, and salt. Other than that, just some miscellaneous things, bug fixes. But that is Atlas.
Very cool. Brian, we are just about 22 hours or so from the release of Cyberpunk, and we're actually giving away a copy. There are, let's take a look at this. There are 27 people entered in that right now. We're just over 22 hours away from the launch of that. We'll be doing that drawing here in the next 20 minutes or so. So if you haven't gotten in here, it's ! Giveaway in chat. And again, we will have a full copy of Cyberpunk 2077 on PC, courtesy of our friend Unicorn Joe, who provided that for us, and we'll be passing that along to you before the release of that. All right. Maybe you want to do the Rust video? There's an update. They did an update here for the tech tree.
So they have one of theirs that's their official video. There's no talking or anything in that. Then there's the Shadowfrax. So I don't know do you feel like we're pushing time a little bit? If so, we could just do the Shadowfrax one because he does cover the tech tree update in that. So it's really up to you.
Let's do both because the tech tree one from the Rust people is only like a minute or and a half or so, and then we'll do the Shadowfrax one.
Yeah.
So
that works.
So let's do that. Then we'll come back and we'll do the Shadowfrax one, and then we'll cover a couple of other things before we get out of here. So let's take a look at the official Rust video for the tech tree. right, so we've got that video from the official Rust, and then we've got the Shadowfrax update, which will cover that and some updates and things that they've done on Blueprint. So let's look at that real quick, and then we'll discuss right after this.
Greetings, survivors and friends. Shadowfrax here with a roundup of December's patch to Rust, with everything you need to know and a lot of things you probably don't. Whatever the case, I'm here to give you knowledge, so make sure you're subscribed, as hopefully that'll help both of us. So, first of all, this patch was heavily focused on research, and if you've been playing for any significant amount of time, you'll remember that Rust has gone through a few different systems when it comes to this. Well, here in attempt number 3241 at bringing balance and improving your sexy little lives, we've now been gifted the gift of tech trees. Not exactly a new concept in this type of game, but how does it work here? First of all, 4 bullet points. You still start with a set of default blueprints. You won't find blueprints in loot anymore. Experimenting to unlock random blueprints is gone, but you can still research items as normal through the bench. Okay, so here's how the tech trees work. There are 3 blueprint tiers. Each tier has its own separate tech tree, and each tech tree is tied to a specific bench. This means you can only unlock tier 1 items through the tier 1 bench, tier 2 through the tier 2 bench, and you can guess the rest. This also means that although you can still craft anything at a tier 3, each bench has its own usefulness, and you'll need to make use of the other 2 if you want to unlock everything, although it's not obligatory. The advantages of this new system are hopefully predictability and a clearer route to getting what you want for a set amount of scrap, but without the boringness and total linearity of the old XP system, if you remember back that far. So, simply use one of the benches, this is tier 1, and then open its tech tree. You can zoom in and out with the mouse wheel and scroll around by dragging. As you can see, this tree is broken up further with 4 starting points that each lead to different groups of blueprints, and this gives you more choice in what you want to unlock first. Selecting an item on the tree will give you all the information you need about it, including crafting costs, its stats, and most importantly, how much scrap is needed to unlock it. Blueprints must be unlocked in order, with each one only becoming available to unlock when an unbroken line before it has been, although there is an exception to this, because as I say, you can still research items you've begged, borrowed, found, or stolen through the research bench as normal. Here's how that works. So, say for instance that I managed to borrow some explosives and research them. I can create a blueprint for those and learn how to craft them as normal. Now let's go to the tier 3 bench and open its tech tree. Here you can see that the explosives blueprint is now unlocked. So that means I can unlock C4 next, right? Wrong! You see, you need to have unlocked all the blueprints prior to an item in order to unlock it through the tree, so I'll either have to do that first or somehow borrow some C4. But hopefully you can see how this system allows players to be more focused and plan their research whilst maintaining flexibility and get ahead if the opportunity arises. I'm going to remind you, although by now it should already be playing in your head, but everything here, including costs, layout, and which items are in which tiers, is subject to change. And that means you should actually expect things to be unbalanced to start with. So if that's what you find, then good. You'll notice already that some items' tier levels have changed. For instance, garage doors and high external stone gates are now both tier 2. The tech tree system will be tested throughout December, and feedback will be taken, so if you don't think something should be as expensive, or if you think it's in the wrong tier, then press F7 in game and send a nice little message to the team. I'd love to know what you think to all this too, so leave a comment, but please try to articulate why you love or hate a change. Don't just say, tech tree bad, or this is bad for solos. That's not a convincing argument. Tell me why. Tech trees are a big change, of course, but we can't ignore the mountain of other fiddlings that were made, most of which I've already mentioned. But to recap, there was a whole Chinook load of balance shifts this month, including crafting reductions and recipe changes across the board, along with stacking amount adjustments.
I'll start using
and
that.
A few
Chinook.
functional
I like that.
balancings,
Chinook,
which you can see here.
If
you pause, as mentioned last week, our friends over at Rustified have
Doubles as a
compiled
curse
a
word
list
as well.
of all of these.
I like it. I'm a
Chinook,
big fan.
32 pages long, and probably required many cups of tea to make. I'll leave a link in the description. Also, as you should know by now, there were a few changes to supply drops. Visually, for one, with an updated model, love it or hate it, which has had the gaps filled properly now, and that thanks to Uncle Helk rewriting its loot table, should contain less junk. Apparently now you're guaranteed to find at least 2 pieces of decent armor, 1 very good or 2 decent weapons, and no more wood armor, landmines, longswords, or stone spears. Boo-hoo. Bradley and Heli loot rebalancings are next in the firing line, so it seems. Most importantly, however, the supply drop parachute now has wires. Praise be! As well as this, there were some slight procedural map changes, as already mentioned, which should see better stable spawning and safe zone areas, plus radiation now being applied to launch site floodlight towers, and yes, you'll once again find transport a bit easier to come by with reductions in costs for saddles, boats, and reebs, plus some boats and horses now spawn in the wild once more. And there were also some fixes for not being able to equip bone armor with a bone helmet, and chainsaws now never taking more than 3 attempts to start, and using 75% less fuel. You might notice that the kayak paddle was updated too this month with some improved visuals and 30% more paddliness. A few more cinematic convars were added, allowing for depth of field focus to be locked to an entity, parentage dolly movement, and night vision mode to be toggled in demos, along with an improved demo playback HUD. You'll find all the details on the dev blog, and I'll just mention that if you want to know how to use any of Rust's wealth of other cinematic abilities, then you should pay the official wiki a visit, and I'll be popping all the links you need in the description. There's some other stuff on the dev blog that might interest you if you want to know what the team have been doing behind the curtains over the last month, such as optimizations to speed up builds and Steam networking improvements. Also worth mentioning is that sales of the Movember Moustache raised $80,000 last month, and Charitable Rust 2020 raked in a whopping $200,000. Splendid. In works in progress, the Happis Island rescue is steaming ahead. No more visuals still. Same goes for the work cart. Same also goes for the new AI work that's being done, although this is still just an experiment as far as I know. And lastly, an interesting commit that I'll just leave here. And please feel free to speculate about it in the comments. Please leave a like if you appreciated the vid, and sub to the channel for more of the same and some different things too. Catch me on Twitch for streams, stay up to date with my content on Twitter, Facebook, Discord, and my Steam group, and support the channel by nabbing some merch or becoming a patron like these amazing chaps on the right. Links are all in the pinned comment and description. I shall catch you all soon, but in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. And cheerio.
All right, cheerio to our friend. Oh, Jesus. Cheerio. I don't know what's up with these guys putting these damn things at the end of their videos. Cheerio to our friend Shadowfrax and whatever sponsor he's trying to pimp there at the end of his video.
Well, he sells mugs now that say subject to change, so I'm sure
I do like that. Those. I would imagine that the shipping from
the UK
from the UK is not going to be the greatest thing in the world. I do want to thank our friend TechZone707 who hit us up with the 25-month resubscription here on Twitch. Thank you very much, TechZone. Appreciate it very much. And a person that I have had the pleasure of knowing and playing video games with and doing video shows with for, oh my goodness, since like way before you, Brian. This is like 2013.
Like the 5th grade?
Yeah, I saw him practically. my buddy, Mr. Storm, hitting us up with the resubscription here on Twitch as well. Thank you, gentlemen. It is greatly appreciated.
Very nice.
We're doing a game giveaway for Cyberpunk. The game is out just about 22 hours from now. We've got how many people do we have entered in the giveaway? I don't know,
27. Well,
27.
Yeah, 27 right now.
27 people. So we'll be drawing that here in the next couple of minutes. Get your self in there. ! Giveaway in chat. All right.
Let's do quickly. Let's do The Long Dark, because this one is actually a survival game, and this is their survival mode update called Hesitant Prospect. These guys do an awesome job with this game. This is one that was a Kickstarter. They met their Kickstarter, and then they were like, we can do better than this. And they built a whole new game on top of it that is just blowing everybody away. So this is their latest update and looks really good. So let's go and check out the video really quick.
All right, let's do it.
Hello, community. This is Raphael, the creative director on The Long Dark. I'm really pleased to share some details about our latest free update to survival mode. This update is called Hesitant Prospect. With the holidays just around the corner and most of us focused on staying safely at home, we wanted to finish 2020 on a strong footing and give you plenty to occupy your time with over the winter season. After all, what better way to pass your time in lockdown than barely surviving in the post-apocalyptic Canadian wilderness? Hesitant Prospect introduces a new region, Ash Canyon. Far on the other side of Timberwolf Mountain is a difficult-to-reach area defined by steep, cavernous walls and burned-out forests. If you can navigate your way through the treacherous landscape, you might find an abandoned mine that hides treasures worth more than gold to any survivor. 2 new gear items. Crampons left behind by an intrepid climber who ran out of luck. Wearing these helps prevent sprains and makes it easier to travel over weak ice. A technical pack adds a permanent capacity buff to your survivor's inventory, giving you a little more breathing room as you carry your life-saving supplies around on your back. And if you thought crossing the railroad trestle near Raven Falls was a nerve-wracking experience, we think you'll especially enjoy the harrowing rope bridges you need to cross to access the furthest reaches of the Ash Canyon region. You'll also notice a new piece of music written for Ash Canyon by our survival mode composer, Sasha Dekichian. We hope you enjoy this haunting edition, which you can hear in this update video. Hesitant Prospect also gives you an updated version of the popular Escape the Darkwalker Halloween event we launched earlier this year. So many of you played and enjoyed the event and practically begged us to add it to the game as a permanent fixture so that you could replay it. So we created a revised version that has a clear ending and a win condition, and added it as a challenge. You can now banish the Darkwalker to unlock a new Darkwalker feat, which when enabled in survival mode, gives you a stamina boost at night, while draining stamina during the day. Perfect for those of you who want to play out your vampire or werewolf fantasies in the long dark. Completing the Halloween event also unlocked the Endless Night setting in the custom toolbox, so in Hesitant Prospect we've unlocked that for everyone.
Trying to play
You
your
can now set
werewolf
up your custom
fantasies
survival
out.
games so that day never comes. Additionally, we've made some nice quality of life improvements to the game's front end, including the region selection menu and a few other lovely changes. You'll also notice that we've updated the game's main menu in honor of Hesitant Prospect, and moving forward, every major update to the game will come with a new main menu that reflects the latest new content. Hesitant Prospect launches today on Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, Wii Game, and our other platforms. Although keep in
Wii
mind
games?
that depending
That's
on
the
where
Chinese,
you are in the world,
platform.
it might take a little longer
Yeah.
for the update to
Interesting.
There's a lot of people that play this game.
This is probably also a
TH.
good time to remind you that with the holidays coming, our studio will be shut down for a winter break from December 21st to January 4th. To give
Damn.
everyone on the team a chance
I
to
need to go
rest
get a
up
job
and
at this
enjoy time
place.
with
Jesus.
family. With 2021 comes our Episode 4 release and other exciting things we can't wait to share with you. Until then, we hope you enjoy Hesitant Prospect, and on behalf of the entire team at Hinterland and all our families, please accept my best wishes for a safe, happy holiday season with hearts full of hope for 2021. All the best, and thanks for playing The Long Dark.
All right, and I'll say Merry Christmas since he didn't to everybody in there. By the way, this is a hell of a shot right here. Available on Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PS4, Steam, Hundle, Tencent, Wii Game, which is I would assume the Chinese equivalent of Steam, and then it's on the Windows 10 store. You talk about having your game available, and no, he's not talking about the Nintendo Wii. He's talking about Wii games. That's impressive. That's a really impressive catalog.
Yep, and they added new regions, so it was like new areas. I mean, they just added a lot. This is one where they're constantly updating and adding way more than they ever promised, and it's probably the most survival game that we talk about. Like that's the most survival game that is out there. So if you're a true survival person, jump in and play. It is very, 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 very difficult. You will die a lot.
Yes, which is always the fun and the agony of any survival game. Let's see here. We're right at about the 2-hour mark. Let's cover a couple things real quick here. A game that we don't get to talk about all that often is Unturned, and we've got an update here from them. This is 3.20.16.0, and we've got a couple things in here. They've made some updates to the HUD or to the UI. So they've been working on that. The HUD should, according to them, across the board now, menus and the HUD should feel and look a lot better. Some players noticed a performance boost, In particular, the compass, hotbar, and map overlay were optimized. Rich text in the chat fades out properly. Crosshair animations finish properly. Tons of Mac and Linux bugs with the HUDs have been fixed. For example, the wonky gamma that was existing on the Mac, and lots but not all of the UI spaghetti code has been untangled. On the technical side, the game was still using. Do you know what IM GUI is, Brian? Is that like a popular, probably a GUI system that you can buy? And it looks like that they were using that from Unity 4. I haven't seen it. And that they're working on, they switched from IM GUI to UGUI, which is new on that. So that was their big thing. They added events for vehicles locking and unlocking. They added a valid speed horizontal for modded vehicles with speed the server cannot predict. So they've added that in there. White spaces and new lines are trimmed from the start and end of the signed text. Swimming while snowing with the snow effects temperature disabled no longer causes freezing damage. And then they changed clamp item drop multipliers for enemies to prevent huge values, 100 plus, from stalling the game. They did a whole bunch of fixes as well. But that's pretty much it on this update. The big thing here being the HUD, and they cleaned up.
So IMGUI is a bloat-free graphical user interface for C++ with minimal dependencies.
So they don't.
It looks like a lot of people use it though. But it looks like a lot of companies use it because they have their sponsors. One of their top sponsors: Blizzard, Google, Nvidia, Ubisoft, Activision. So it's a bunch of games. There's a lot of people, a lot of companies using this.
Interesting. So it looks like what happened is, it's from reading it here. It says that Unity replaced IMGUI, so it must have been what Unity was defaulting, was packaging with UGUI in 2015, and now they're replacing to replace UGUI with UI elements. But so they are they wanted to upgrade, and they've gone ahead and done so. So.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, and one thing PH just mentioned about something about the next version. Perhaps he wants to have the same UI on the new Unturned, and if that one is built in, and he wanted to use something different, and he's using Unreal Engine on the next one, he's probably making something that he's going to make it so they're the same on both systems, I would assume.
We haven't heard a lot about Unturned 2 in quite some time.
I've gone and looked at the blog. Yeah, you see things every once in a while, but he doesn't put a lot of information out about it yet. So
yeah. What we have talked to him, and whenever they do have some news about Unturned 2, he has told us that he'll come back on the show and talk about all that stuff. One of our most popular episodes was when we talked to Nelson, probably about this point a couple of years ago. That was a good time.
Yeah. One thing I'll just want to talk really quickly about one final game, Jaws of Extinction.
Okay.
They put out their 0.3.0.3a patch, and they're also now listed, I think, in Steam, because I think this is the one that was not listed in Steam, but I was actually able to search for it and it pulled up. So that's this is a big change. They've had a lot of hot fixes in there, but they've been working a lot on the map. They've been doing upgrades. I'm just going to do a really rough kind of cover because there's a lot of information. I would encourage you, if you're interested in the specific details, check out their patch notes, because they do put a lot of information in there. They've added a lot of locations to the map, and they actually show those. They have a safe zone that they've added. They've changed a lot of things with, like, the player, for instance, the bleeding audio and visual effects, changed how the consumables work. You're now start out with a basic bow. When you start the game, they've been updating the UI on it. They've done a new looting and harvesting system and options for that. And then performance fixes, upgrades and bug fixes, and then they have a list of their current outstanding and known issues up to this point. But this is a pretty big patch. Still waiting, for multiplayer on this. I think that's going to be that. I don't think we should really go in and try it out until they implement multiplayer. I think that'll be the big change of, okay, this is ready to test, and at the end of the alpha period, rather than right now where they're really just doing major changes all the time, and there's no multiplayers, and I think that's going to be a big part of the game later. So
I would agree. I think there's I've said this many a times. I think there's a lot of potential with Jaws of Extinction.
It's going to take them a while.
They did the right thing by actually, you can't even buy it anymore, Brian.
Are they not letting you do it?
Steam store. It looks like they may have actually taken it off. It says that its release date is February 16th, 2021.
Oh, okay. So they made it listable now, but they made it so you can't buy it. So they're putting a release date.
Well, it says get instant access and start playing the game now with early access, but there's no button to. Maybe it's because I already own it.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is, because I own it too, so I can't.
But I'm not logged into my
I'm not
Steam
logged
account.
in.
Yeah, neither am I. So I don't know what the deal is with that. It says you can buy it, but it doesn't seem available. That's weird.
Well, I'm going to look at my logged in one, and we'll see.
Yeah, so that I think there's a lot of potential with Jaws of Extinction. It's just very early. It is single player, and it's not really fully fleshed out, so there's really not a whole hell of a lot to do as of right now. But I do think in the future, and it looks like they're hinting at mid-February for a re-release of the game, so that would be pretty cool there. Want to thank our buddy Tag for hitting us up with the 16-month resubscription on Twitch. Thank you very much, Tag. It is greatly appreciated. He helped me greatly with our internet troubleshooting here that we had a couple weeks ago, Brian. He was jumping in and sending me messages and asking me to try different things. So he's been with us for quite some time. So thank you very much, Tag. It's greatly appreciated.
Very nice.
Yeah. So that's Jaws of Extinction, and I believe that's going to bring us out of time here for news. Is there anything else that you want to get into?
Okay, I'll say the things that we didn't cover.
Okay.
First of all, EverQuest has released their 26th expansion, so they now have the 26th.
There'll be
expansion.
time, I think. Well, hopefully we can get to that next week.
But one thing I did want to point out is the prices. So they have their Family and Friends edition, $250. Their premium edition, $140. Their collector's edition, $90. The base one, the standard, the lowest one you can get, $35.
Well, they did sell for $9 million. Or what was it now? $9 million or something that they just sold for? I mean, they're making money.
Yeah. And so, I mean, when you get to the Family and Friends one, like you get all these items and everything that they do, and a snow bunny saddle, all the great things that you need for $250 in your life. And so that's the 26. Also, I had a bunch of news on World of Warcraft that we didn't get to just because of time, but I did want to make note. It is currently the fastest selling PC game of all time. And that's why I kind of hit it at the very beginning. But this expansion is the fastest selling game of all time of any games on PC.
Will you make sure you copy that to that whole block to the show notes for next week? Because I would like to talk about that.
Okay, yeah, we can go into details. So I've got some other information. So yeah, we'll go in there and then we can discuss it a little bit.
And we hope, I mean, possibly we might even have some Cyberpunk early sales numbers from Cyberpunk. It'll be 6 days after release. I don't know what we'll see on that, but hey, maybe we'll have some early numbers that can do some comparisons. A couple of other things we didn't get to, including ROE. And actually, I think ROE was the only other big thing we didn't get to. So, yeah, pretty good.
And that was just they added a new character to it, so it wasn't really a big deal. So that was fun.
Biggest news is always ignored. Oh yes, the WoW sales numbers. How will we ever go on? All right.
Yes.
With that being the case, let's take a look at some current players and see who's currently playing some games. Let's start it off with Ark. This is the version on Steam, 42,700 people currently playing that. The 24-hour peak, 65,567, with a 7-day peak of 82,366. Moving on over to Rust, currently playing 50,545, the 24-hour peak, 75,541, with a 7-day peak of just shy of 100,000, 97,557. Very impressive numbers from Rust. Taking a look at Unturned, currently playing 9,935, the 24-hour peak 18,448, with a 7-day peak of 32,000 19,877. Taking a look at 7 Days to Die, currently playing 19,977. 23,580 is your 24-hour peak, with a 7-day peak of 32,258. And wrapping us up here is Conan Exiles, currently playing 6,870. The 24-hour peak 9,808, with a 7-day peak of 12,186. And well, there's one more here. And Atlas, currently playing 2,320. The 24-hour peak 3,473. 4,158 is your 7-day peak. And that is going to bring us current players and all of the different people playing all of the different games. So that is current players.
Very good. Well, let's go ahead and roll into our tip of the week, where sometimes I give a general gaming tip, but I figured, hey, why not? Let's do one. Cyberpunk 2077. So this is tip of the week.
Hold on a second.
Yes?
Hold on a second. How can you give a tip on a game you haven't played?
Well, you will find out. It'll be cutting edge and super exciting. So this is tip of the week. All right. So with Cyberpunk 2077, I wanted to talk a little bit about the map. First of all, Cyberpunk has a subway system that can take you throughout the whole city. And there's currently a map that was leaked in the trailers. So in one of the trailers, they showed the subway map and show how it pretty much goes throughout the whole city. Is very extensive. And most likely, once you get down there, you'll have a lot of quests, sub-street life, things that are going on down there. The city is also much bigger than many of the games in the past with cities, due to the skyscrapers and large buildings that are actually enterable. They're not all of them are enterable, but it's going to add a lot to the playing area that you can do. The map itself is said to be about 15 kilometers squared, but that's estimates based on some of the videos that they've made. That's estimates based on the leaked map that was in one of the folded maps that was in the physical disc copies. And so I'm sure tomorrow it'll be much clearer once people are starting to play. But for reference, the Skyrim map is about 39 kilometers squared. Witcher 3 was 46.3 kilometers squared. Watch Dogs 2 had a very big map at 80 kilometers squared. But, don't worry about that. The underground, the multi-level enterable buildings, also the density of the city will make this feel like a gigantic map. This map is broken up into 6 districts that are fully accessible from the start, but they don't have level scaling with the NPCs that you will fight. So that will be your limit of where you go, because you will just get demolished if you go to areas that are way above your level. And so you can feel like, you can try to sneak around and do stuff and go check things out, but it will be very difficult. And one thing that with this, because you'll get enhancements and different upgrades throughout the game, that will be one thing that really determines where you go. Also, there will be specific areas that are only enterable during specific quests. So maybe a door that only opens during certain quest lines and areas that you can go. So this is something that I'm really looking forward to. Hopefully the map feels huge. There's not going to be a lot of dead open area. When you compare it to Watch Dogs 2, that was a fairly dense for a lot of areas. But The Witcher 3, a lot of open forests. Skyrim, a lot of open forests and mountains. This one is going to be a lot of city. I think this is going to be really something different than what we've seen up to this point in these type of games. So that is tip of the week.
All right. Wow. I don't even know what to call that tip. That's like a pre-tip, which, you got to be careful with pre-tip.
I know.
But
yeah, you know what they say.
Yeah, I know what they say. They say lots of things. Brian, I think I would be foolish and a liar to say I'm not beyond hyped. I've said for literally years now, I'm not sure the game is going to be able to live up to its expectations. We will find out in less than 22 hours if that in fact is the case. All right.
Yep.
Well, we have got about 30 people or so entered in our giveaway, courtesy of our friend Unicorn Joe, for a full digital version of Cyberpunk 2077
on the PC. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll that and see who will be the lucky winner of Cyberpunk.
All right, so let's go ahead and close and draw this. Storm the Epic. So Storm the Epic, congratulations. I will message you with the link to be able to redeem this. And so congratulations. Hopefully you enjoy it. This will be for PC. And once, as Nick said, thank you, Unicorn Joe, very much for the gift. And I'm sure that Storm the Epic will appreciate it very much. And we do appreciate your support of the show all now years now.
Yes. We met on a Minecraft server, as many as many good stories turn out that way, and many How to Catch a Predator episodes. It all works out. All right. Well, obviously, since Cyberpunk is a single player game, there won't be many Discord chats going on, but I'm sure
we could talk while we play. I mean,
yeah, I'm not sure about all that. But there will be, I'm sure, plenty of conversation going on in our Discord. So if you're not in our Discord, or if you are, but you maybe don't pay attention to it over the next couple of days, the Discord will be a place to keep an eye on. With that being said, Brian, people in the chat are demanding an audit of the system. This is not a democratic republic, so you do not get.
I already sent it to him, so I'm sure he's redeeming it right now. So.
Yeah, the quickest redeem in history. Yeah, we're gonna stop the count. Stop the count of the keys. Yeah. Dead people are entering in the Twitch chat. So there you go. That's that. Brian, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, if you want to find me, you can find me at Brian Aldridge on Parler, or you can go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Also, if you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com, make sure you go to the right-hand side there, join our server on Discord, and if you want to hang out and chat, maybe give comments as you're playing through the game. Try to avoid the spoilers because not everybody's going to be playing at the same pace. Also, if you want to submit news topics, maybe there's a game that we don't discuss. Maybe you want to suggest games for Nick to cover in player numbers at the end of the show each week. You can do that through there. If you want to hang out and chat in our politics channel or health channel, there's all kinds of things going on. Also, if you go to our website, and you see there, join our server on, join the Steam group. You can get notifications before the live show starts. And if you happen to be sitting at your computer, you're a member of that, you can jump in, participate in the chat, participate in the giveaways. We also have in there our pre and post show channel that Judd does. So if you want to subscribe to the Infection Podcast Extras, you can do that. We also have our audio and video forms of the podcast. For video, you can go to BitChute, DLive, YouTube, and Twitch, and those are streamed live. We also have recordings after the fact. We have audio only forms that are only uploaded after we finish the show. So those are the lower right hand side of the website for whatever kind of device or platform you would like to use. You can also do that through follow along with the show notes. If you go to our main page for episode 308 on down, we have show notes for every single one of those on there, and you can follow along as you listen or as you watch. If you want to support us, you've heard throughout this show people giving their Prime Gaming subs. We really appreciate that. That's huge for us. That will pay for PAX next year. Probably also pay for some audio video upgrade things that we're going to use for recording and doing that while we're there, I'm assuming. And for Nick, for we also have on there, if you want to support us, support option in the menu. You can go to infectionpodcast.com/support. Or you can go to humble.infectionpodcast.com if you're doing Humble Bundle purchases, maybe purchasing a copy of Cyberpunk. You can do that through there. Or you can go to amazon.infectionpodcast.com for any gifts or things you'll be purchasing for the holidays.
Absolutely. And I've got a whole bunch of people to thank here, Brian, including our friend Saw Greatman, UGX Vibe, Donnie, Judd, Firebomb hitting us up with some bits, Bobby J hitting us up with the resubscription, TechZone hitting us up with TechZone707 hitting us up with the resubscription, Tag hitting us up with the resubscription, and then Firebomb with some more bits saying, "Are you guys going to make the show next week or be playing Cyberpunk?" We'll be here for the show next week. I was concerned it was going to come out tonight
on the right screen. We'll see what happens.
What if it came out tonight at 7:00?
Bingo, boom, shakalaka.
Yeah.
And Falcon Rain for hitting us up with the 26-month resubscription. Thank you very much.
At least it's not a multiplayer game. That's the one benefit, is you can take your time and not have to worry about being like outscaled or out whatever by other people. You can just play at your own pace and do your own thing. So with that being said, Brian, thank you very much. Thank you to Joe. Again, huge shout out to our friend Unicorn Joe for donating a full copy of Cyberpunk to give away here. And I will say to everybody, good luck in the wonderful world of Cyberpunk. Don't do anything crazy. Don't kill. Don't burn to the ground like the trailer said. Have a good time with that. And by the way, if you have any feedback or comments or anything, please post them in our Discord. We'll compile things of what people had to say, and then we'll talk about them on the show next week. So if you've got anything you want to bring up, a bug, an issue, something that stands out, bring it up in the Discord and let us know. So Brian, thank you as always. We'll see you next week. And I think that's going to do it.
Very good. Thank you.
Alrighty, folks. That is, in fact, going to do it. If you want to check out some of my political rantings, you can do so at atnshow.com. That's atnshow.com. Firebomb says, can we get a spoiler section? Yeah, we'll figure that out in the post show. All right. That is going to do it for another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. If you miss any portion of the show, links, videos, pictures, show notes, videos, all that fun stuff's on our website, infectionpodcast.com. That's going to do it, guys. Have a great week. Enjoy Cyberpunk. We'll see you next time.